Hello, my name is Mark Preston Moss. I am the Secretary of the Indiana Buddhist Center and the Senior Student to Geshe Jigpo Sonam, our Spiritual Director. At the Indiana Buddhist Center, I put together the Sazhi Zangpo courses to give newcomers a more detailed introduction to Buddhist philosophy, science, and practice. Sazhi Zangpo is a Tibetan term which means good foundation. And this first course is based off of a category of teachings called Lam Rim. The Lam Rim teachings, Lam Rim literally means stages of the path. And it is a detailed outline of the things that one needs to abandon and adopt in order to reach Buddhahood. So course 1 is about the introductory steps to the path through Lam Rim teachings. Now, this course is an overview of the entire Buddhist path. All the subsequent courses that we have will elaborate upon these ideas presented in this one. And it's based on a text, very short text, by Jetson Kappa, who is the founder of the Gelugpa lineage. That's the Dalai Lama's lineage of Tibetan Buddhism. And he lived from 1357 to 1419. We're also going to be using a commentary by a great master named Pabonka Rinpoche, who lived from 1878 to 1941. And the topics we're going to go through are how do you take a qualified teacher, and what is a qualified teacher, what is Buddha nature, what is authentic Dharma, what are samsara and renunciation, principles of karma, problems of a human life, bodhicitta and its benefits, and how to generate bodhicitta, 2 levels of reality, and what is the correct view of emptiness according to each of the 4 schools of thought and relationship between karma and emptiness. So many claim that Buddhism is not a religion, and for the most part, in contrast to other major world religions, that's true. That's because Buddhism can be divided into 3 branch disciplines: Buddhist science, Buddhist philosophy, and Buddhist practice. We'll be focusing on the application of these findings and how they benefit our lives, particularly the philosophical and practical side of these 3. So first of all, when you study Buddhism, you're studying yourself, the nature of your body, speech, and mind, the main emphasis being on the nature of your mind and how it works in everyday life. So why is it so important to know the nature of your own mind? Since we all want happiness, enjoyment, peace, and satisfaction, and since these things do not come from external circumstances, but from wisdom and the mind, we have to understand what the mind is and how it works. One thing about Buddhism is that it's very simple and practical, and it explains logically how satisfaction comes from the mind, not from some kind of supernatural being in whom you have to believe. This idea can be really difficult because in the West, from the moment we're born, extreme emphasis is placed on the belief that the source of happiness lies outside of ourselves in external objects. Therefore, your sense perception and consciousness have an extreme orientation toward the sense world, and you come to value external objects above all else, even your own life. This extreme view that overvalues material things is a misconception, the result of illogical, unreasonable thought. And therefore, if you want true peace, happiness, joy, you need to realize that happiness and satisfaction come from within you, and stop searching so fanatically outside. You can never find real happiness out there, whoever has. Now, the word for Buddhist in Tibetan is Nangpa. And Nang means inside, and Nangpa means one who goes inside. So when things occur in our lives, good and bad, we go inside. So the term insider doesn't mean that we don't want any outsiders joining our group. It means we're going to look inward to our thoughts, to the way they function, and to find how to take control of them. So the Buddha, his first teaching that he gave was called the 4 Noble Truths. And all of Buddha's teachings revolve around one of these 4 points. The first truth that he taught is that life is suffering. And that's something that we can all connect with immediately. It's most likely why many of us found our way to these teachings. In Eastern countries where Buddhism has been a foundation of life for centuries, people are born into Buddhism and they're surrounded by every day and everywhere. For us in the West, we make a conscious choice to come to the Dharma, which is the Buddha's teachings. In most cases, we're all looking for some way to reset ourselves back to a time before the calamities arose that caused our desire to search for answers in the first place. Let's be upfront and honest. There's no reset button. You'll never unlive the past, nor will you be able to put things back exactly as they were. When such things happen in our lives, we have two options. Go back to doing the things we were doing, just as we did them in complete ignorance, or choose a path of introspection, healing, and progress. All people have equal potential to control and develop their minds. There's no distinction according to race, gender, color, or nationality, even species. We all have the potential. Equally, all can experience mental peace and joy. Our human ability is great if we use it with wisdom, which is worthwhile. If we use it with ignorance and emotional attachment, then we're wasting our lives. Lord Buddha's teachings greatly emphasize understanding over the hallucinated fantasies of the ordinary mind. Emotional projections and hallucinations due to unrealistic perceptions are wrong conceptions. While the mind is polluted by wrong conceptions, it's impossible to avoid frustration. The Tibetans have a saying, Chu manyok na tang, sema chu na te. And that means when you leave water alone, it becomes clear. When you don't agitate the mind, it becomes happy. So the clean, clear mind is simultaneously joyful. That is simple to see when your mind is under the control of extreme attachment on one side and extreme hatred on the other. You have to examine it to see why you grasp at happiness and why you hate. When you check your objects of attachment and hatred logically, you'll see that the fundamental reasons for these opposite emotions is basically the same thing. Emotional attachment projects a hallucinatory object, and emotional hatred also projects a hallucinatory object. Either way, you believe in the hallucination. From the standpoint of Buddhist psychology, in order to have love or compassion for all living beings, first you have to develop equanimity, a feeling that all beings are equal. Now, that's not some kind of radical way of saying I have a piece of candy and I need to cut it up into little pieces for everybody else, but rather something you have to work with in your mind. Equalizing sentient beings is not something we do externally. It's impossible. We recognize the potential inside each and every being to gain wisdom, develop the compassionate heart, and alter their direction toward enlightenment and Buddhahood. So when your mind is even and balanced, you can generate loving kindness for all beings in the universe without discrimination. At the same time, emotional attachment automatically decreases. If you have the right method, it's not difficult. When right method and right wisdom come together, solving problems is easy. Excuse me. However, we humans suffer from a shortage of intensive knowledge wisdom. We search for happiness where it doesn't exist. It's here, but we look for it over there. True peace, happiness, and joy lie within us. And therefore, if you meditate correctly and investigate the nature of mind, you can discover the everlasting happiness and joy within. It's mental. It's not external material energy, which always fizzles out. It decays. It goes away. It's impermanent. Mental energy, coupled with right method and right wisdom, is unlimited, and it is always within us, everywhere we go. And that's incredible. It explains why it is said that a human life is considered best to reach enlightenment in one lifetime. Our human intelligence is powerful. Materialists think that people are powerful because of their amazing external circumstances, but those constructions actually come from the human mind. Without the skill of the human mind, there's nothing created externally. Therefore, instead of placing extreme value on things of ourselves, we should try to discover our own internal power. That's much more useful and leads to a balanced, even mind. Now, it might sound as if Buddhism is telling you to renounce all of your possessions because extreme attachment is bad for you emotionally, but renunciation doesn't mean physically giving up things. You go to the toilet every day, but that doesn't mean you're tied to it. We should have the same attitude to all the material things we use and give them a reasonable value according to their usefulness for human existence, not an extreme one that overestimates the lasting joy they can bring you. Human potential is great, but we have to use our energy skillfully. We have to know how to put our lives in the right direction. This is extremely important. Therefore, we begin as Buddhists with taking refuge in the three jewels, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Refuge in Tibetan is called kyabdro, which literally means safely going. So let's look at what these three jewels are and how they have the ability to be of refuge or protection for us from the unsafe reality in which we've been living and co-creating. Now, it's important to understand that in Buddhism, blind faith is regarded very lowly. Faith, as it is understood in Buddhism, is of several types. Most importantly, faith due to reason or logic, and faith in an authority such as Buddha or masters who have reached a great state of understanding and peace due to these teachings. So understand that when we talk about faith or in a belief system in Buddhism, we're talking from that standpoint of having come to a logical, reasoned understanding, or because masters who we can trust to have our best interests in mind due to their compassion for us and their wisdom that is devoted to the truth. Explain it to us so that we can investigate for ourselves. There's a saying by a great master named Sakya Pandita, and in Tibetan it is Deta Druptan Sunjingi, Rigpe Junluk Gangishe, Kepa Deni Tsopayi, Sangi Kini Tembadzin. This means that whoever develops a mastery, an understanding of this ability to prove and disprove things from the Buddhist scriptures, will keep the complete Buddha's teachings alive in the world. Now, they also say that Wang Tul Depe Chetang, Wang Nun Rikpe Chetang. And that means one who follows out of faith is dull mentally, but one who follows out of logic and reason is sharp. So in the next video clip, we're going to talk about, just briefly, the history of the Buddha, to give you a working understanding of him. You can Google anything about the Buddha's life history that you want. It is the stuff of legends. Not sure how much of it is actually true, because as legends go, there's some very fantastic things that happen that really make you wonder if they did or not. That's not important. The important thing is that we're going to recreate the experiment of Buddhism as it's been done in many different countries. Otherwise, we can't really get the results that we see in people like the Dalai Lama, who is a beacon of love, compassion, and great joy. So join me on the next video.